hashtag how I got custody. So I'm going to talk about in this video, we kind of dance around the elephant in the room. And, a lot of my harsh talks on YouTube are about all your excuses to not fight for your kids. People say, oh, the system's too hard to deal with. The system is biased. The system's corrupt. My attorney won't do this. My attorney won't do that. And then you're talking to somebody who won in court over and over. Everything you're doing is causing you to lose. And you don't get help now. Like, the best way to get help for me is to get a one-on-one consultation. It costs a little bit of money, but the vast majority of you spent tens of thousands of dollars on an attorney for what? And this isn't even a sales pitch. This is just, in the end, when I talk to people who dilly-dally around and say they want to talk to me and they never get around to it, or they don't set an appointment, or, they set an appointment, then they're a no-show, and then they tell me later, oh, I really want to do it now. And they don't want to lock in an appointment or get an appointment or pay for an appointment. I'm always going to have a few people here and there who are going to want to get help. And, that's what I'm here for, is the people who actually want to fight. But there's so many people, if you would just put some effort into it, you would do so much better. And I'll talk to people on their cases who are, I'll talk to people whose cases I've been familiar with, or either I work with or talk with or worked with in the past, and then they disappeared, and then they come back and they say I'm in a total jam. They didn't listen to anything I said afterward, how to stay on top of their case or whatever. And they talk to me for no reason other than just to talk, and not like just aimlessly walk through this thing and complain about it, but not want to do anything. This is the theme that I keep getting over and over. At the end of each week, I look back. There's a few people who wanted help. There's a few people who saw my page and got on the offensive and went to war. There's a few people who wanted to actually fight for their kids and did something about it. And then there's the other 99 out of 100 that just want to whine, cry, piss, and moan and talk about how everything sucks. And then there's people in the comments who say stuff like, I did a recent video of an attorney who was talking about this judicial seminar and how all the attorneys were watching these judges say, hey, when you come to court, do this and do that. Don't say stuff this way or else you'll piss us off. The guy didn't say anything about the law, the factors in the law, why a dad should get custody, why a mom should get custody, why there should be 50-50. He didn't say anything about the law and rights of parents. He just said, this is the way you talk in court. Just don't piss them off, because you're supposed to go in there and worship these judges. So I attacked this guy's page. It was family law. I don't know. It's in my section on James versus, and in my section about corrupt attorneys. But there's some women who come on there in the comments, and they're not even followers. They're just passersby, saying, I wouldn't want you to be my attorney, because I'm bashing a perverted child trafficking attorney. I'm bashing a child trafficking attorney, and then ladies criticizing me. Well, I wouldn't want you to be my attorney. First of all, I'm not an attorney. I wouldn't stoop that low. Second of all, I'm helping people win, so why would you not want me to be attorney? And then there's another lady, when I went on her page, it's this obese, extremely unattractive lady who came on my page, and then was one of them said, bitter much? Yeah, I'm bitter toward attorneys who traffic children and take them away from good fathers and deprive children of their fathers, and creating this generation of all these stupid, dumbed down, idiotic, rebellious kids who are yearning for attention and love, and they go out and race their cars and pop off guns and steal cars just to get attention from their friends because they're lacking the love of a father and all this stupid stuff. and they're raised by single mothers who have no rules or control of their kids. And then, or they're like the trolls that I got on here right now. The kids got nothing better to do in their life except go on YouTube and talk like a seventh grader. Maybe they are a bunch of seventh graders. Single mom raised little punk kids that got nothing to do with their life. No purpose, no nothing. Their moms are letting them let the internet raise them. They don't spend time with their dads. They don't learn a skill. They don't learn how to have any responsibility. So anyway, so these fat, ugly women come on my page and they'll say, oh, you're bitter. I wouldn't want an attorney like you. And this is what happens. Like either people come on my page and they presume that I'm mad and bitter about a system. I won. I won in my case over and over. And I'm helping other people win. And people are coming on my page hating for no reason, hating on a winner. But those are probably those fat, ugly welfare moms who stole the kids from the dad, pushed the dad out. And any of you trolls in here, if you got a single custodial mom, she probably pushed your dad out. The dad didn't abandon you. The dad didn't run away from you. The dad was pushed out because the mother abused a radical feminist court system to push the dad out and make herself child support, make the state money. They get bonus money for child support. The mother's an alienator. The average modern woman wants to have a kid just to get child support or control of a man. And they think they can raise a kid without a father. So somebody said my dad abused my mom. If you saw it, that's fine. I'm not saying that never happens, but 60% of child abusers are mothers. 70% of domestic violence perpetrators are women, but we never ever talk about that. If your mom said your dad abused her before when you were born or when you're young and too young to remember, she's likely lying. 90% of domestic violence and rape allegations are totally false. But anyway, back to the adults that are watching this stuff. Why are you not getting help on your case? What are you scared of? You're scared of the unknown? You're clinging to an attorney who is hustling you. Look at the videos I have for attorneys. I just posted a video. This dad had an attorney who defended him in a contempt motion, and he told him to plead the fifth. In a civil contempt motion, his kid ran away from the mom, whose new boyfriend was abusive toward him. And the vast majority of child molestation comes from the mom picking a bad new boyfriend. They'll leave the good dad that they said, oh, you're a great dad to create a kid with. I'm going to break up with you so I can get welfare and child support and alimony, because the curse of Eve from the beginning of mankind, part of the curse of Eve was pain and labor, and the woman wants to rule over the man. And men are the protectors. They're the leaders of the families. Women can't protect men like men can protect women. We're stronger. And we protect our children. And pedophiles target single mother homes or the stepdad and the new boyfriend. They're the vast majority of pedophiles. So, that being said, this guy, he had an attorney that agreed to a parenting plan that gave the mother control. He can have visits whenever the mother wants. The kid recently came over and saw the dad and was relieved to see his dad because the mom's been withholding the dad. Then he goes back to the mom and he runs away from the mom and goes to the dad's house, and he doesn't want to go back. And so the dad, they did a contempt motion against the dad, and the attorney says, why don't you just plead the fifth? The attorney's so stupid, he thinks pleading the fifth is going to make it easier, and it's their burden to prove, that he's in contempt. Well, in criminal court, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. In civil court, you have to prove by preponderance of evidence. So since the dad shut up and pled the fifth and didn't want to do anything, he lost. And you guys are paying these attorneys thousands of dollars to supposedly fight like this with you. So, and if there's anybody who has questions about their family law case, you can feel free to ask them right here while I'm on live here. But if you're not watching my videos and getting free information about the rules of evidence, the way to get on the offensive, the way to find case law, the way to find the statutes, and you're not getting on the offensive and lighting a fire under your attorney, holding them accountable with my videos on the rules of professional conduct. If you're not taking what I'm saying and applying it and get on the offensive and being aggressive, what are you even doing here? And if you're half-assing it or halfway doing it or dancing around and saying, "Oh, that's some cool information. Let me learn this little tidbit," and you go into a courtroom where you need to know this much information to the moon, the rules of evidence, the civil rules of procedure, your fundamental fairness doctrine right to defend yourself and have um, enough time to prepare your defense or your argument, the legal standards about what's fair and equitable and unfair prejudice, the obligations of a judge under the Code of Judicial Conduct in the preamble, the obligations of an attorney under the RPCs in the preamble, and the oath of an attorney, and Civil Rule 11. I think I mentioned the rules of evidence. And there's case law on like each rule of evidence or what each rule of evidence means. There's a whole lot of stuff to learn. And some of you guys just pop in and you see that I won in court and you get like this much information. If you want to be, let's say you want to be the next Michael Jordan, or let's just say you just want to be a Division I basketball player and you watch some Michael Jordan videos that he did on YouTube, or Pistol Pete Maravich has a cool little tutorial where he talks about every single drill there is to I was younger and playing hoop, playing college basketball. I watched some of his videos, but he covers everything. If you want to be a good college basketball player, you know how to dribble, shoot, defend, pass, hit free throws, have a mid range, shoot from 3-point land. If you just watch a video about one move, like a crossover move or just dribbling straight, and you're like, okay, now I'm ready to make my high school team after I got cut, or now I'm ready to get ready to spend the next 3 years going into high school preparing to become a D1 basketball player. If you just look at like one aspect of being a basketball player, you're not going to become what you're asking to become or what you want to become. If you're going to court like you want to get 50-50, you have to fight like your life depends on it. This may be one thing that people are deceived about. If you say, okay, well, I'm not going for full custody, so I don't need to fight that hard. I'm going for 50-50. I'm going for what seems reasonable and fair. Yeah, that seems reasonable and fair to you in regular life, but you're going into a court system that wants to give mothers full custody and dads every other weekend, and they think you're second-class citizens and that you're an inferior parent, even though you're the safest place for a child. The biological father is the safest place for a child. All those statistics about absent fathers apply to single mother homes. Single custodial fathers have the same rates of suicidal kids, mentally ill kids, drug addicted kids as intact family homes because the leader and the protector are still there. In a single mother home, they're not. So, but the system is backwards. They give custody to mothers because the whole world is backwards. The whole world is filled with liars, fakes, and phonies. They just want to give you every other weekend. And some of you might think, oh, if I just ask for 50-50, that's fair and that looks good. So I don't have to fight that hard. It's harder for you to get 50-50 than it is for you to get full custody. Because the courts look at it like 50-50 is the kids are back and forth. They don't have one stable home. Starting from scratch, starting from the jump, the courts presume you shouldn't get custody or 50-50. But they always presume the kid should have one stable home. So you have a better chance at going for full custody, which is very hard. 50-50 is even harder. See, you got to stop making up in your head what you need to know and what you need to learn and how hard you need to fight, especially if you've been in court. If you're 3 months or a few weeks into your court case and you got a temporary order that gives you every other weekend, you're screwed. That's all you're going to get unless you do something different. But some of you sit there and go, well, I'll just wait and ride it out. I'm trusting the process. If the court's supposed to be equal, how come you don't have 50-50 right now? How come you don't have 50-50 right now? If you had a temporary order hearing and they gave you every other weekend or no overnights because your kids are infant, they assume that women can handle kids better than a man. They're bigoted, just like the Jim Crow South courts, just like the courts dealt with Japanese people around World War II when they thought every Japanese citizen was a spy. Just like the court system dealt with Native Americans when they didn't give them their share of the land until, I don't know how long it took, decades or hundreds of years later before natives got certain rights that they have to be able to fish on their own land and have their own land. And even though they give them the crappiest land sometimes and they isolate them and all they got is liquor stores around, just like inner cities or whatever. How come you don't want to get the fullest amount of help that you can get right now? I mean, the fact that I'm here and available to give you information, you don't want to seize that moment and get a consult and learn everything that you need to know about fighting for your kid in your case. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Somebody said, this stuff is why I'm not having kids nor getting married. I mean, I understand that, you know. I've had long periods of being single because it was peaceful and it was cool and it was fun just being a dad to my daughter, and I had plenty of stuff to do, like helping people win in court. And I didn't need the extra drama. And anytime I got in a relationship, if I even saw a bit of a red flag, I was out. I don't need any extra drama or extra work. I got enough work going on. Too busy rescuing people's lives, fighting my own court case. I was in and out of court for 20 years. And then I got my daughter to raise. That's a full-time job in and of itself. It's being a single custodial parent. And then I'm dealing with this type of stuff. And for years and years, I nicely try to coach and coax people into, you can do it. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to worry. You don't have to whine, cry, piss, and moan about the system and stuff. You can do it. Look, I did it. You can do it. But I can't. They'll look right at me and I'll tell them, I show people my bachelor's degree. I didn't get it till after I got custody. Before I went and got custody and destroyed the mother's attorney and the guardian ad litem, I was a warehouse worker who flunked out of college. I didn't get my degree until like about 10 years after I got full custody. Now, I might have been an underachiever in college, but I finally realized, okay, now if I go to college, I have a reason or I have something I'm passionate about. So maybe that's what made it easier. But people will look at me and then they'll see my winning orders. They'll see testimonies from other people who have won, and they still just don't want to fight because they're a bunch of scaredy cats. So I don't want to waste my time and energy trying to convince somebody to grow some balls. But there are a few people out there who, if they just put some effort forward, they can change their life with their kids. That's why I talk the way that I talk. So let's get down to it. Why are you not getting help right now? Why are you not getting a consult with me? Even at least one, just to, I do consults. The first consult is an hour and a half. And it's a little bit cheaper than my regular hour and a half rate because people are coming to me for the first time. So I give them a little bit of a break. And people complain about the cost of that. After you spent $5, $10, $25,000 on an attorney, you're like, well, now I'm broke. But you're going out and getting Starbucks for before and after work. That's $20 a day you're spending on Starbucks. If you have more than 8% body fat, you can actually skip a meal. You can actually fast for, until you get down to like dangerous 3%. Okay. If your kids are important enough, you will do what it takes. And I keep telling you guys, I told you so. There's the example of the attorney. He tanked a guy's case. He said he spent $70,000 on his case with psychologists, his attorney, and everything like that. And he walked away with an order that says the father's visitation shall be supervised by somebody that the mother picks. And he'll have visits when the mother approves of it. That gives her total control. And my sister with Down syndrome wouldn't sign off on a court order like that. That guy spent all that money on all. Think about this. You go through a domestic violence treatment program. Uh, you have a parenting evaluator or a psychologist who evaluates you, or you got an attorney, and you still end up getting screwed. You could have gotten screwed by yourself without hiring an attorney and showing up in court and not saying a word. And all along, a lot of you are watching me all along, and I have people who call me like, yeah, I wish I would have listened to you 3 months ago, or I wish I would have heard of you 5 years ago. You could have found me. You just didn't try hard enough. I've been on the internet since about 2008, 2009, something like that, when I had my first website. And people across the world were finding me in Australia, Canada, and Europe. So if you didn't find me and you're sitting there saying, I wish you were around 7 years ago, or this page is around 9 years ago, or 4 years ago, you just didn't look for help. You were satisfied with an attorney screwing you over, and you didn't have any damn common sense that God gave a monkey. So why now are you not doing anything? Because I talk harshly in some of my videos like I'm doing now? Or I yell in my videos? Are you getting the truth and answers here? Do I have the truth or not? So you're going to let some butthurt feelings like you were being a sissy coward and not fighting for your kids, and I called you a sissy for it, and I'm not calling you out by name or posting your picture here or giving out your social security number, your home address. You feel a conviction in your heart like, yeah, I was being a pussy, and it triggers you. And the average person who didn't grow up with a father is a big sensitive little sissy, so you get triggered and it hurts your feelings, so you get in defense mode and have to defend yourself instead of being accountable and saying, you know what, I screwed up. You know, the two dating relationships I have, well, there's 3 dating relationships in the past like 25 years I had where I got burned. A couple of them were short-lived. One of them was a little bit longer. And then in between, I've had some great relationships, but I can own it. Okay, I was stupid for not seeing the signs with my baby's mom. The first chick totally burned me. She was playing me and some other dude at our church. Chemo Scott Evans and Mary Soulshide Evans. I've told that story a little bit and alluded to it. I don't need to go there. And then this chick I dated not too long ago that played me, and she was messing around with different dudes, and she was playing victim, and she had a great victim story, but she was a professional romance fraud hustling con. And it turned out she was abusing her kids. She lost 3 of her 4 kids after abusing them. And she's a total loser. I thought she was in abusive relationships with her ex-husband and right out of high school and another dude. She had a great story. I didn't buy it for long, but I bought it long enough to be a dumb. But I can call myself a dumbass for being stupid enough to lower my standards for the moment. I usually don't date women with kids or more than one kid, or a woman who drink. I don't drink alcohol. She drank. I let it slide because all the suffering she was going through and stuff, and how she grew up and saying she was molested and raped. And then she turns around when I break up and then break up with her. And then she's acting like she never said that and it wasn't true because her dad is finding out all the stories she tells everybody. And that's embarrassing. So anyway, I got conned and I look like a dumbass, but I can just say I made a stupid mistake. It was my first and last time in playing Captain Save-A-Ho in my life. But in between, I had some good relationships. So when you're dealing with, like, I cut that chick loose and I'm done with her, and so I'm fine. I care less about her, ever seeing her again, not in love with her, all that kind of stuff. But this is a decision about your kids. They will be your kids for the rest of your and their lives. Why don't you want to do every single thing that you can? This is why I'm so passionate about this stuff, because I don't get it. As soon as I found anybody who showed me this much understanding of the family court system and willing to fight or fight for a dad, I was all over it. I was with Dennis Gack, the National Brotherhood of Fathers' Rights. I went to a Dads Against Discrimination free seminar at a community center. And I knew I needed to talk to that guy about my case. I didn't need him to coax me into getting an appointment with him. He said, I'm available for appointments if you want to get a hold of me. That's all he said. I'm up here trying to convince some people wouldn't get an appointment unless I pushed him and told them, wake the hell up. Your life with your kid is on the line. You should already know that. That's insane to me that you don't have any sense of urgency or desperation to find out everything that you can to get on the offensive. If your kid had a life-threatening disease that you never heard of, you would be in the medical books studying it and talking to doctors and getting a second opinion and learning how to treat your kid when you're not at the doctor because you're the parent. You have that kid around you during the day, all day long. There's a whole bunch of parents out there that got their kids who have kids with certain cancers or diseases, and they know everything about that because they care enough about their kid to find that stuff out. Your life is on the line with your custody battle. Why don't you have that same intensity that parents do when their kids get a disease or their kids are sick or they have a special need? I have a sister with Down syndrome. My mom was involved with ARC of the county that we're in, and um, you know, she had my sister heavily involved in things like Special Olympics and resources and community stuff with other families who have a family member with Down syndrome. She revolved her life around that. I don't understand why some of you people, you get a custody battle, you get served paperwork, your baby's mom is taking the kids away from you, you're traumatized, you're devastated, and you just sit on your ass and whine, cry, piss, and moan about it instead of doing something about it. And I sit here and show you my winning court orders. You hire an attorney, you ask them, how many times do you help the dad get custody? Well, it's kind of hard doing that. That answer is no, I'm a punk ass bitch pussy who's never fought for a dad. And here I am. You see testimony after testimony on the comments on different videos here. I just saw a testimony in the comments on TikTok. I'm going to post that on a short on YouTube and on Instagram. Dad said he watched my videos, he took my advice, and now he's got his kid. I don't know exactly what that means, whether it meant custody or 50-50, but he didn't have his kid before, and now he's got his kid. He took some action. I don't get that. How can you not do that? And then when I say, how come you can't grow some balls and fight? Then a bunch of people in the comments like, you shouldn't talk like that. That's not nice. Or you shouldn't bash the people who don't got money and who are broke. I cost 1/10 of what Judge Anthony costs. I cost like 1/1000th of the total cost in the end that what you're going to spend on an attorney. If you had me coach you from the beginning of your custody case up through trial, you would spend about $25,000 at least on an attorney. I just got done telling you the guy who lost in court and got a crappy order, he spent $70,000 in his original divorce or custody battle. And now he's got a contempt where he got totally bashed and burned. He didn't even know that he had an option to appeal from a commissioner to a judge in 10 days. I told him that. His attorney didn't even tell him that. These attorneys are not even telling you guys your options. And then you're mad at me because I'm like, what the F is wrong with you? Wake your ass up. Stop being a pussy ass bitch. Go fight for your kids. Why should I care more about you fighting for your kids than you do? That's insane. And then you're mad at me that I'm saying that's insane. Spending thousands of dollars. You would spend $25,000 from let's say you got blindsided with a restraining order and false allegations, you're going through divorce. By the time you finish your trial, you will spend at least $25,000. If you get help from me, the minimum amount of time that a guy needs to learn everything that they need to know is about 5 hours with me, like 4 or 5 appointments over the course of a month or two. You have an appointment with me, you go and spend a week or two working on stuff, gathering information, learning the rules, and then you come back for another lesson with me, another appointment with me. So over the course of a couple months, if you did that, or over the course of a year, you have 5 appointments with me, that's going to be about $400. I don't even know what's $400 out of 25,000, 4 out of 25. I guess that's more like 1/6. You'll spend, 400. So that's like what? 250 and 4, 150 and 2. You're literally spending 1% of the money you would spend with an attorney if you had me on board walking you through your whole process. And you're sitting here complaining that I'll say, how come you can't scrounge up and save $20 a week and then get an appointment with me? And people are complaining about me charging for my time while they're in the midst of giving attorneys $5,000 and $10,000 retainers. That's freaking insane. You guys are acting insane, and then I call you out for acting insane, and then you cry and say, "Oh, you're talking so harshly." Why are you not getting any help right now? There's help right at your door, right here. I give you overwhelming proof just with my winning court orders. If you click underneath this video to the description and you go to my flow page, I show you my custody order, um, my 2 wins in the Court of Appeals against an attorney with 40 years experience. I destroyed him in the Court of Appeals. Then another hearing where I got the mother's modification case thrown out. And then I'd have the transcript where the commissioner, the judicial officer is saying maybe I should go to law school because my paperwork was written so well. All that proof that I know what I'm talking about. And people get on here and say, well, I need to have an appointment to talk with you for an hour so you can convince me you know what you're doing. You're a freaking stupid ass retarded idiot if you can't figure out that I know what I'm doing right now. And then you've paid an attorney $20,000 and they never prove to you that they know any clue about what they're doing. If you have any kind of professional, a doctor, a plumber, an electrician, if they're right out of medical school or they're right out of an apprenticeship, you would probably not want to work with them. You want somebody who has 10 or 15 years experience of successfully fixing a sub pump, a septic tank, electrical wiring. This is freaking common sense. And all you guys lose damn common sense when it comes to this stuff. Not all you guys, vast majority of men out there. And they're sitting there arguing with me or complaining about me. I don't like your tone. If you're a real man and you care about your kids and you'll die for your kids and all this shit talking that the average guy does, how come you can't grow some balls and fight for them? You don't have a choice. And see, you don't even have a choice to do this. You have to fight for your kids unless you're going to quit on them. And then I'm the bad guy for telling you to grow up and man up. Every boss out there, every coach in a sport that you played, if you were a wrestler, if you were a football, especially if you played football or wrestling, maybe not so much even in basketball, these coaches out here are vicious sometimes, cussing dudes out, grabbing their jersey. And I'm sitting here telling you something that's pretty much goes without saying that you need to fight for your kid. And you're whining and crying and pissing and moaning that I'm telling you to grow some balls and fight. And that's why you won't get an appointment because I said that in a video and I'm talking to people in general. If you're triggered and offended by that, then there's something wrong with you and you need to change it and fix it. And if you don't like my channel, go ahead and move on. I don't care. It's your loss. I'm doing just fine. I got custody of my daughter. She's 23 now. We have a great relationship. She doesn't have a good relationship with her mom. So when she needs help, she calls me and I'm there because I love her. She was my whole world for 23. She just moved out this year. She's been my whole world for 23 years. Now, she's been more free to do her own thing, of course, since she's been a teenager and older and then in her 20s. But she still was my whole world. If she needed something, I would come running because I'm her dad. Her mom, not so much. So, but I don't understand anything less than that. If you have any effort less than my life revolves around my kids, then you're not a parent to me. So if you come to my page and say, well, I want to fight for my kid, but I don't want to try that hard and I don't want to talk bad about the mom and I don't want to firmly assert my rights in court, then get on with your punk bitch ass. Go somewhere else. This is not that kind of page. I'm not here to cater to the thin-skinned sissies who were raised by single moms and you never had to do anything hard in your life and you don't like me telling you that you're going to have to grow some balls and put up, oh, I shouldn't have to fight for my kids and something that's my right. That's correct. You want a Nobel Peace Prize for coming up with that stupid ass line that anybody with 3 brain cells firing can come up with? No shit, Sherlock. Now what are you going to do? Oh, if they didn't feed us and advertise processed foods all day long, I wouldn't be so fat. Maybe. Why don't you decide to stop eating all that stuff, dumbass? Why is it somebody else's fault and not your own? You know, it's funny that everybody complains. Like if you go on social media, everybody complains that everybody's lazy, everybody's disloyal, nobody wants to take ownership, everybody's a liar. Then when it comes down to actually living right or doing the right thing, everybody has an excuse not to. So It's funny. Everybody's talking about all these disloyal people. Everybody's a narcissist. Everybody's disloyal. Everybody is a betrayer. Nobody does the right thing. And then when it's time for you to do the right thing, then you don't want to do it. So how come who's all the good guy? Who's all the bad guys if everybody's on social media talking about it? Like 100% of people on social media talk about how everybody's disloyal, narcissist, crazy, and all this other stuff. And then the vast majority of people I encounter are people who don't give a shit about their kids and don't want to fight. And they make excuses. They don't want to take ownership. Yeah, I was stupid enough to have a kid with a crazy woman. Now it's time to be for me to fight for my kids. My kids didn't choose this life. They didn't choose to be brought up in a family that's eventually broken. Or when I was out screwing anything with two legs, I was a dumbass and had kids. And I was expecting every girl to get an abortion or contraception to work, or me to screw anything with two legs and not have any consequences. Now I have consequences. So now I need to own it. But see, that's another thing too. We have all these feminine bitch made men who can't control their stuff, and they're out having sex with as many women as they want. And then when they have a baby, then they just want to want the baby's mom to handle it like their mom handled everything raising them, because they were a single mom raised little feminine beta bitch. And then it comes time to be a man. And then that psycho chick takes you to court, and then you turn into a sissy and don't want to fight for your kids. So here we are. It's time to grow some balls and be a man and fight for your kids. And the number one best thing you could do is talk to somebody, whether it's me or somebody else, who knows how to fight the right way or to light a fire under your attorney. There's so many people I have. Just think about how insane this is. There's so many people I talk to, and I say, well, your attorney needs to get on the offensive and call the mother out for this. Cite the law and all the factors in the law. The factors in the law include which parent is willing to facilitate a relationship. The mother's withholding the children. She's alienating. That's psychological and emotional abuse. Call it out in court. Well, my attorney doesn't want to do it. Then fire the attorney, you stupid, dumbass, numbnuts, idiot. See, I'm getting at the root of the problem. I tell you the answer. Light a fire under your attorney, do this. Well, my attorney won't do it. Well, then tell him to do it. You're the boss. Well, I'm kind of scared. He might quit. Then he's a traitor and he's not working for you, you stupid, dumb, retarded, airheaded piece of shit. Why should I have to teach you this stuff? You hire somebody to do a job and they don't do it, and you're afraid to offend them and tell them, do your job? Do you have a job where you're a manager or a boss? You tell somebody to do something and they won't do it. Don't you get pissed about that? You hire a kid to mow your lawn and he half-asses it and doesn't mow every single patch of lawn. You don't pay him all the money. You take your car in the shop. And one time I got a lube oil and filter, and it was back in the days when they used cans and canisters. I drove away. Next time I popped the hood, there was an oil can sitting there that was melted on some part of the engine somewhere. I was pissed at those people. I paid them to do a service without making a mistake like that. But no, not when it comes to an attorney. You guys are such sissy cowards. You can't stand up for yourself when you're paying an attorney $300 to $400 an hour. And this is what attorneys do. They have so much knowledge of the legal system. They have you intimidated because they're like, just trust me, just do this and just do that. When you know you have a right to be an equal parent, that should be enough for you to tell your attorney, at least go in and try. We can't do that. This is the way the system is. F you then, bitch. Bye-bye. Before I knew anything about this stuff, and I'm calling around for attorneys, Goldberg and Jones, I say this over and over. Google Goldberg and Jones, Seattle. They advertise as divorce lawyers for men. I called them up and I said, hey, I'm in a custody battle. I work at night. I can have my daughter during the day while the mother's at work. There's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't have that. Think about it. I'm working at night. I live 3 blocks from the mother. Before she goes to work, she can drive by my house and I get the kid and I have her during the day. And then I give her to the mom when she comes home from work, and then I go to work. This law firm says that I should not have a right to my kid on days like that, and I will only get every other weekend. That was so insane to me that I told them to F off and hung up the phone. But all you pussies out there will say, okay, whatever you say, it doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make common sense. I should have a right to have my kid more than the daycare does. But whatever you say, because I'm a numbnuts pussy little bitch who just is a pushover, and whatever somebody tells me to do with my life, I'll just follow them. These are your kids. It's your life. Why don't you fight for your kids and demand an attorney fight for everything you think is fair? And if an attorney is an expert in the law and they say this is the way, this isn't the way that it works, okay, show me in the law that says I can't get custody. Well, that's just the way that it works. So why did you become an attorney if the system's corrupt and you're just going to go with the corrupt system? The attorneys who helped pass laws that undid the Jim Crow laws or that fought for black men falsely accused of raping a white woman, those people had some balls and they stood up to the system because it was corrupt. But your attorney is telling you, even though the vast majority of people will say they went into law and became a lawyer to fight for justice and there's injustices in the world, but when they become an attorney, they just roll with the system. And you're going to really believe that you just have to just take it because that's the way that it is because your attorney said so? See, we got so many damn mother freaking sheep in this world. You know, sheep are the dumbest animals in the world. They will follow all the other sheep in a flock all the way to be driven off of a cliff. And even wild animals with no IQ, wolves and other predators know how to round up or trap sheep or sabotage them or ambush them. And everybody just does what everybody else does, and whatever the attorneys tell you to do, whatever the politicians tell you to do. During COVID was a great experiment. It's now coming out that most of the COVID stuff was total bullshit. And most of you know it because when I talk to people around the COVID time, 99.9% of people that I talked to believe that it was bullshit. So that's a nice sample poll. When I would drive around and go to a business and drive through a coffee shop or a gas station, I'd ask people like, what do you think about these COVID restrictions? Do you think it's a little bit too much or lasted too long? And 100% of people told me, yeah, they overdid it. Not everybody would say that COVID is bullshit or it's not as bad. But Bill Gates, after saying Bill Gates said that this is an epidemic or a pandemic. Later, he said that it was only like the flu. It really pretty much just killed the elderly. After all the hysteria and panic that the government stirred up, bullshitting us and experimenting on us to see how good we would comply, just like they've done with the swine flu. They did it in the 70s with the swine flu with a vaccine that gave everybody all kinds. Go look it up. Go look up 60 minutes. Just go on YouTube. 60 minutes swine flu, I think 1979. They rushed out a vaccine and it injured a whole bunch of people. And then they went to go get immunity so they couldn't get sued. And there's people driving around in a car by themselves wearing a mask to protect themselves from other people. You don't think we're all a bunch of F-tards out here? And so the average person is a sheep. They don't want to do stuff that not everybody's doing it like this. So you being the punk ass bitch that you are, not fighting for your kid because your attorney told you to stand down and be a little docile little bitch. You know what you would have done in slavery days in Jim Crow South? You would have sat back and watched. Everybody loves playing hero and say, oh, I would have stood up for that. You can't even stand up for stuff that's your basic life right now. And what's the harm in you going to court and fighting and standing up and being aggressive? Oh, that'll look bad. To who, you peer pressure middle school bitch coward? Who? What are you afraid of? People are afraid to even talk to me because they don't like my tone on these YouTube videos. This isn't how my consultations go. Now, there's some consultations that have escalated because I'll ask people questions like I told you, story like, one out of every like 250 consultations, somebody will get mad because I'll say, well, why did you do that? And then I'm asking them questions so that they can examine like why they did what they did and do better next time. And some people just can't handle that because they're facing the dilemma like, damn, I let down my kids. James is making me feel bad. And I'm not even trying to make somebody feel bad. I'm asking them why they do this. This is what you need to do. And then they get triggered and then they get mad. And then the conversation escalates. I'm like, we're not getting anywhere. I'll just give you your money back. This isn't how consultations go. I don't bite. But I'm not going to get on here and be a fake phony like these attorneys and try and hustle you just so I can make money or get an appointment. I'm going to tell you the real deal, what you really need to do. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Attorneys will sell you and say, oh, you got a great case for 50-50. Then when you give them $5,000 after they go to court and they ask for 50-50 and you get creamed, then they say, well, let's go to mediation. Well, why don't you go to the therapy like the court ordered? Why don't you trust the process? Then another $10,000 later, they say, well, let's go to mediation. And mediation costs $3,000 because you got to pay the mediator and you got to pay your attorney to sit down and watch you guys talk about your rights, and you never get anywhere. Watch my video. Mediation is a scam. You're going to court to fight somebody, and then you go to mediation to work with the person that's opposing you. It's a scam. And your dumbass goes for it. And then I tell people, why don't you tell the court, we can't get along, we won't do anything, or send them an offer and say, what are you willing to, I'm not willing to settle anything less than 50-50. Are you? No way. So there's no way you'll get anything on mediation. But like a compliant little bitch of a sheep, you will still go to mediation and pay $3,000 after I just predicted and told you and proved to you is a waste of time. You will still do it. When are you going to stop being a sheep? When are you going to stand up for your kids, or at least save yourself some money, or grow some balls and stand up for what's right? Somebody said hypocrisy, talk shit about your prices and pay 25,000. Laughing my ass off with. I think you're agreeing with me on that. Yeah, people will pay. I've had people who say, I can't believe you charge money and you make money off of people's misery. I spent $100,000 on an attorney. There's no way I'll pay you $100 for an hour and a half or $80 an hour to learn how to fight. And some people who tell me that, I'll ask them a question like, did your attorney do a deposition? Did your attorney do a reconsideration? Did your attorney say you can go for full custody? Did your attorney show you the factors in the law? No, 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 no. And I just gave them like 4 little things that they can go and do that their attorney never told them. And I do that. I'll do that quickly for free. And then all my videos on YouTube, I got, the last time I counted up and added the time, I have $50,000 worth of free information, and people still complain. And I'm supposed to work for them for free. Narcissistic diva little bitches who think they should pay a hustling con attorney with a suit and tie in a nice office with a cherry wood desk, that they should pay them just because they demand it. Because you're a dick rider for somebody with a suit and tie or PhD or law degree, but somebody like me who won in court wearing some sweats. Like, look at Einstein. Does Einstein look like a pretty boy? Does he look like an intellect when you see his messed up hair and his mustache? Does he look like one of the most genius people in the history of the world? No. But if everybody had your dumbass mentality and says, I'm going to go off of appearance and I'm not going to listen to what Einstein said, then you wouldn't know shit about, um, theory of relativity or MC squared. What's E equals MC squared? Some of the basic stuff. If you were trying to learn some science, you'd say, oh, screw that Einstein guy. He doesn't look clean cut or whatever, or he doesn't look that intelligent. Anyway, you guys get my picture. Why do you not want to fight for your kid? Why don't you want to get all the information you can? And again, when I ask you, why don't you do this? It's because I did it. And I didn't have a James Christensen encouraging me to do that or giving me guidance. I just knew instinctively that I was starving for knowledge of how to fight for my kid. And I looked high and low. And you guys got it at the click of a mouse. You're spoiled. And because you're so spoiled, hard times make tough men make good times make soft men make hard times. So when I was doing it, I was going to the law library and opening up books and reading them. I was driving to a father's rights meeting and driving to a guy who charged, at that time, he was $25 an hour to consult with. And he gave me this much information compared to what I literally give you guys, my free videos give you guys 100 times the information that guy gave me. He told me, I think he told me about a couple of the evidence rules. He told me about the rules of civil procedure for filing motions, and he opened up the book on motions, said, here you go, read that. And I had to take my own notes. Or maybe it's $25 for half an hour. Yeah, I think that's what it was. But I would go meet with him and I'd walk away with this much information. I had to do the research myself. And half the time when I'm calling him, he didn't pick up the phone. So I'm struggling to think because he was getting burnt out from listening to people's stories. You guys are lucky that I'm even here. The guy who mentored me, who got me to be the person to get full custody without an attorney and to win in the Court of Appeals and all this other stuff. He got me the information to get started, and then I figured all this out on my own. The guy who taught me would get burnt out and didn't want to do this anymore. And by the time I was done with my custody battle, I went back to court. I would check in with him once in a while. And a couple of years later, he was burnt out and he was done. And then he asked me to volunteer and answer the phone calls for the Seattle chapter of Dads Against Discrimination. And if you go online, you type in dadsamerica.org, they still have a website, but it fizzled out. There was like 13 chapters across the country. New Jersey, the guy in New Jersey is still around, but he's doing his own thing. There was Alaska, Washington, California, Oregon, New Jersey. I can't remember what other states, but all those guys are gone. They're all burnt out. And the guys who ran it, they all went cuckoo, or they're old, they're dead. Dennis Gack from National Brotherhood of Fathers' Rights, he's dead, I believe. And I had to pay that guy $650 to do some paperwork for me, and he did it wrong, and I had to redo it. So I'm telling you guys, you got stuff at your fingertips and you won't even click a mouse or text or call me. And people will text me like a screenshot full, another screenshot full, 5 screenshots full. Here's my story. And nowhere in there does it say, I want a consult. And I just delete that stuff. I don't got time to read your stories, dumb bitches. If you want help, get a consult. If I read your story, I cannot memorize it by the time you want a consult, maybe next week. Like, here, I just want to give you this information. I'll be checking in and get a consult later. Or, at the end of something like that, I'll say, are you interested in a consult? Yeah, I'll check in with you later. I thought I'd just tell you my story. Why the frick would your dumbass tell me your story? And next week, I'm supposed to have it memorized. You haven't paid me to work for you. You think I'm going to do that? Do you not have any self-awareness in you? This is what's wrong with my gender. If you want help, if you're desperate to fight for your kids, you should just get a consult, just like I did with Bob Carls of Dads Against Discrimination. I went to a dad's meeting, and I had to find them in the phone book. That's how we didn't really have, everybody didn't have a website back then. They had a website, but I first found them in a phone book, called them, and he goes, we have a monthly meeting at the community center. And he stopped doing that after a little while. I went to the monthly meeting. There was like 25 dads in there. All 24 of them are whining, crying, pussy ass, bitch made faggots. Just sitting there, oh, but the women lie and the women this and the women. I was the only one that walked up to him and say, how do I get a consult with you? A couple days later, I was in his office, in his home office. He had a little hut by his trailer. He was like Yoda in the woods, but this was the guy who mentored me. And all you prissy little divas who need to have an attorney with a suit and tie to talk to you, and you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on them. The guy who mentored me lived like Yoda out in the woods. He had a mobile home, and then it was planted on a property with a little, like 1-bedroom, living room, kitchen, like a studio apartment that was almost like a log cabin. And he had to turn on a space heater for us to be warm, to be at his computer. But I got more knowledge from him than I got from Goldberg and Jones, the father's rights law firm in downtown Seattle with 10 different lawyers. And then later I found out Goldberg and Jones, this is what they do. They have a moniker, Divorce for Men, and I do it, and I talk about it in my video. I'm the only one out here bashing these attorneys like I'm doing and telling them the truth. I talked to an attorney who used to work at Goldberg and Jones, a couple of them actually, but one of them said they laugh at that moniker, Divorce Lawyers for Men, because it keeps a revolving door of men. Men will come in and pay $250 for 1 hour for an initial consult, and then they'll go out and they won't retain the attorney. So they constantly have money coming in through that because guys go, oh, Divorce Lawyers for Men? That's what I need. None of these other lawyers advertise as divorce. So they go in and they're like, man, we need $10,000, $5,000 up front. Like, man, I can't afford that. But at least I got this consultation in. And they laugh about that. They're playing men. But I was desperate for help. As soon as I saw somebody who could help, I jumped on it. I don't understand why you guys sit around and dilly-dally and hesitate. The Bob Carls from Dads Against Discrimination, the Washington chapter, you can still go on there, like I said, Dads America. And then when you go on that page on the left that has each state, you can click on Washington. There's still a couple things on there, but there's nobody running it because the people who are in charge went cuckoo. because they got tired of dealing with this anti-father corrupt system and they got burnt out. But as soon as I saw that there was somebody that could help me, I jumped on it. And then I did stuff wrong and I jumped on trying to fix it. And I lost in court and I tried again. And I lost in court and I tried, or I kind of had, when the mom was trying to get a restraining order, the judge granted it for 2 more weeks and then 2 more weeks until we got into family court. So I didn't really win anything, but I didn't lose anything. And then I went to family court and got 0 visitation. And then I found out, like on day 8, there was another father's rights group out there. And I said, hey, I got screwed by this commissioner. I got 0 visitation. What do I do? And they said, you need to do a motion for revision. And they said, when was your order? I said, it's about 8 days ago. You got 2 more days. You better hurry up. And so I scrambled and I got a hearing in front of a judge. And a judge at the same courthouse, first of all, the mother got a continuance, so it was pushed out even longer. Most of you guys would have quit like bitches and say, this is frustrating. It hurts my feelings. My dick hurts. I'm a little sissy pussy bitch. And so I quit on my kids. It was frustrating. It was aggravating as hell, but I had no choice but to fight for my daughter. So there's a continuance. It got pushed out. And then I went in front of a judge. A judge at the same courthouse said, you deserve a great deal of visitation, 5 days a week. And so I had frequent contact with my daughter up until the time I got custody, which made the transition a whole lot easier. The same courthouse had one judicial officer give me 0 visitation and another one give me 5 days a week. And it took me 2.5 months. Most bitch dads quit after the first hearing and then they sign off, whatever it takes just to end this. I don't understand that. So if you're one of them and you will never change, get off my page. If you're one of them and you're like, man, I envy James. How did you do that? How did you do that? I'm the same person that you are. I just kept going. Just think about this. Here's me and you. You went to court, you got screwed, and then you're sitting like here you are. You go to court and you're still at bottom. You got 2 hours of supervised visitation. I went to court, got 0. So we're here, and then I didn't get anything at the restraining order hearing. I didn't get anything at the restraining order hearing. Then I go in front of a family law commission. We're both here. And you tried once and you feel like giving up. And then I tried again. I went up to the judge, got knocked down. It got continued. And then I went up to a judge and the judge gave me 5 days a week. So I'm up here. I just had to keep enduring and enduring. I'm the same person you are. I didn't know anything about this stuff, but I kept looking for answers and asking around until I got, just like anybody else in life, any CEO or rich person or successful person, especially somebody who came from poverty or a broken home or a bad neighborhood who's rich now. They just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. You see quotes from successful people. It's on social media everywhere. The only difference between somebody who's rich and poor in most situations, there's plenty of situations where somebody got rich, they had their trust fund baby or whatever. But people who are successful in business and continue to succeed, those type of people just didn't quit at the hard times. And the losers or the failures quit at the hard times. And that's 99% of guys in family court. So stop being that guy. And just think, you have to, while I'm going up here and doing this, you still have to stay down here and continue your court case for several months or a full year, and you have to go to trial. And you're sitting here down here going through hell and pain, where if you would have done what I did, I was going through hell and pain just like you, but I was winning stuff. And I was getting leverage in my custody battle. And then you're still down here. By the time you come around 8 months later, you go to mediation, she's been beating you down and holding you down, and you haven't gotten anywhere. So you'll just sign off on anything to make her go away. And you sign off on an agreed order that gives her all the power and control. And then for the next 18 years until your kids are 8, if your kid's 1 year old, 17 years, the kid's 10, you got 7 years of hell where she gets to control you and continue to beat you down because you never tried, you never fought back, you never pushed back. I keep saying this over and over and over again. I have countless guys who were sitting there doing nothing, and their attorneys did nothing. They fired their attorney, and they sent interrogatories toward the mother. Like, oh my God, how come you're bombing me with all this stuff? It's going to cost me $1,000 for my attorney to answer this. How come you're doing this to me? Why don't we just settle? And you're like, I just told you I'm willing to settle on 50-50. And what will it take for you to settle 50-50? Okay, then. Most of these women are emotional basket case, illogical idiots. They think with their emotions. So while they're beating you down and you're surrendering like a little punk and a bitch, they're like, wow, he's such a punk and a bitch. I got total control and I get everything. And they enjoy the power they have over you. It's the curse of Eve. You can read it in the original sin. God said, your desire will be to your man, but he'll rule over you. So always be a man's world. But women always want to buck a guy, run them, and control them. So they always want to control the kids. Women would rather take welfare and live in a dumpy Section 8 home than to work with their partner and be better financially off. Because just think about it. Men, that's our baby's mom. We'll give her whatever she wants. It's in our nature usually to do that. The vast majority of men. My baby's mom told me later, there's a short period of time we were talking. She's like, all this court that we went through, we could have had like $20,000 in a trust fund for our daughter, a college fund. I'm like, yeah, no shit, dummy. You're talking about yourself because I didn't spend money on an attorney. That dumbass airheaded bitch took 2 years to realize, oh, all this court stuff is a waste because I didn't get anything out of it. And I spent $20,000. Women don't think about this stuff in general. And I'm talking in generalities. I have plenty of female clients who do think about this stuff and they're dealing with a narcissist ex or an abusive ex. But why the hell would you not get on the offensive when it's worked for guys? And it's crazy the guys that were getting beat down and ran over when they just put forth a little bit of effort or filed a motion or threatened to get custody and the mother was worried that he might get custody and she might pay child support, then she settled on 50-50. Why the hell can't you at least even attempt to try to fight? Don't believe me. I'm a guy who just won over and over in court, and I got a track record and show you winning orders. And there's a bunch of testimonials in the feed. When I got interviewed with Pearl from Pearly Things, the redhead lady who is a male advocate, if you don't know who she is, you type in Pearly Things on YouTube. She interviewed me last year. I have a screenshot of the interview. I wish I would have downloaded the video. I was a stupid idiot for not doing that. I should have downloaded it, but I never thought she would have deleted it. She deleted it, I think, with a whole section on her page because we weren't getting the views. The section that had self-help or how to this and that, people don't want to hear that because most people want to get entertained and want to see Pearl check and embarrass some booty clapping whores. They'd rather see that. That's fun. That's where she got millions of views of those videos. But videos on this is how I fought to help fight off a protection order to win in court. They don't want to hear all that because that takes work and effort. They just want to go to her page to be entertained. Like, everybody wants to be on the sideline watching. During the civil rights movement, everybody was watching Martin Luther King fight for civil rights and Malcolm X speeches with an audience of 30 or 100. It wasn't millions of people marching in the streets. During the revolution in America, only 7% of people took up arms and fought. We act like the whole country was fighting the British. No. The vast majority of people are sheep. 90% of people are going to be bystanders and watch somebody protest or watch somebody fight or watch a few the vast majority of doctors knew most of the stuff with COVID was bullshit, but they didn't want to lose their license. So they watched a few attorneys stand up, a few doctors stand up to the bullshit who lost their license and said, well, I don't want to do that. Even though, if you're rich, you should have money set aside for a rainy day or a rainy year. 90% of people are going to be pussies when it comes to stand up. It's time to stand up. And I'm not talking about always wanting to fight or have a fist fight or go to war. I'm just talking about having a strong heart to stand up to an injustice. Because if you stand up for yourself in court and bash your baby's mom and call her out, what's going to happen to you? You're going to go to jail? No. What's going to happen? Oh, my feelings will be hurt if they don't like me and love me anymore. Then get your bitch ass on and don't have a relationship with your kids. Either you love your kids more than you love your prissy little thin-skinned bitch-made feelings, or you love your kids enough to go through hell for them. And most of the time, people don't have a battle like I do. I had one of the most psychotic, relentless attorneys in the history of family court. He did not stop, and eventually he hated me so much. The last 2 or 3 years in our 20-year battle, well, I battled him for 13 years. And then the mom got another attorney, so I was off and on in court for child support and contempt and stuff for 5 or 6 years, college child support too. But the last couple years, he worked for free because he wanted to fight me so bad because I did bar complaints against him and got him disciplined. I exposed him and put pictures of him and his hideously ugly wife on the internet. And I stood up to him and I talked shit to him in court. And he didn't like any of that. So then he took it personally and he fought for free against me because he hated me. And I've seen 25,000 cases and I've talked to attorneys, and other attorneys who've worked for 10, 20 years were afraid of Don Farrell. I have a video on my YouTube channel about David Contos, Kontos. If you type in how I got custody, David Contos in YouTube, or if you go on my channel, the magnifying glass above the main video, you could search the word Contos, or just look at James, or the section where I expose corrupt attorneys and judges. I talk about David Contos, but then I show you pictures of my baby's mom's attorney who looks like a white trash version of Herman Munster. And I told him that in emails. You guys act like you can't stand up to an attorney about the law. And I sit here, bashed him, said his wife was ugly. I told my judge his wife was ugly in court papers. And what did the judge do? Did he throw me in jail? No. He said, well, James is sitting there mocking our wives. And then anyway, blah, blah, blah. He made one comment with one sentence about it. And you guys are afraid to go in there and tell the judge, you can't do that. The law says you have to do this. I told the lady the dude, he has a hideously ugly wife, and so does my baby's mom's attorney. And that's why you guys are tag teaming me, because I date really beautiful women, and you guys have hideously ugly wives. And they did. And they saw my baby's mom was a very pretty woman. And I've had pictures on the record, I think, of a couple different women who testified, and they put their picture in and showed them with me and stuff like that. Now, whether you like my ugly mug or not, I have dated some very pretty women. So that was the actual fact. And then so I just threw that out there. But back to the main point. Why are you not getting help? It's only hurting you. It's not hurting me. If I go broke trying to do this stuff, which I live kind of paycheck to paycheck, I make enough money to get by. I still look out for my daughter and help her out and stuff. I'm not rich by any means. I should be rich. I'm the only one out here doing this stuff. But I'm not, and I never will be, because my gender is filled with a bunch of pussy ass bitches. And people don't like me saying that. If you're not a pussy ass bitch, why did you get mad? Why do you get mad at me? Everybody in the world is saying that America is soft. We've gotten soft. We're a bunch of sissies. We're a bunch of crybabies. There's a famous video of, what's the guy's name? Jesse Lee Peterson. He's interviewing this one guy, and he's literally on here saying, I don't have a job right now because I have PTSD. And he's like, what do you have PTSD from? Just anything that disagrees with me. There's just a bunch of bullies in the world. And you could tell the guy's just a fruity, soft, single mom raised beta bitch. And in that interview, he said something about his dad. And it's a video that I don't really watch Jesse Lee Peterson, but it's a video that's gone viral, and I've seen it pop up several different times because I talk about father's issues and men issues. And this guy's like, Jesse Lee, is it Jesse Lee Peterson? I think it's Jesse Peterson, a black dude. He talks kind of funny, slurs his words, and there's this goofy looking white dude with a mustache and glasses. And like, my mom, this and that. And he like lives with his mom, or his mom is helping him out. And he's like, Jesse's like, why can't you just be a man? And he goes, this is a cruel world and there's bullies. And Jesse starts laughing at him. He goes, you're a beta. You're acting like a woman. He goes, I'm not a woman. That's the millennials nowadays. That's this single mom raised generation of bitches. And then I declare what we see with our own eyes, and then you guys get pissed at me. The only reason you'd be pissed at me if that's you and you haven't been fighting. And here's the other thing. I'll give people credit on this. You have been fighting hard, and you've lost, and you're devastated. So then you're mad at me because you think I'm shitting on you and you're lost, and I'm having no compassion for it. I already know the system's corrupt. I already know it's screwed up. I already know that it's hard because I've been through it. And this is why you can't have an attitude with me, because you've been working hard or fighting or paying a lot of money for stupid legal strategies. Just think about it. The average American works their ass off. A guy goes to work, risks his life, puts his life on the line. Crab fishermen, people who climb uh, light poles or towers or windmill towers to change the light bulb or whatever. Dad's going out there risking their lives, working their ass off, and they're making ends meet. You can work hard and not get way ahead. Just because you're working hard in your case doesn't mean that you're doing what's right. And I'm telling you, dumbasses, you're doing it wrong because what I did worked. What you're doing, you're not fighting the right way. How come I can have guys that are in your situation call me up and then a week later the mother wants to settle? Or maybe it's months down the road, or they go to trial and put on their own trial. I just gave you an example in another video of this woman that was getting her butt kicked by a narcissistic, abusive guy who abused her in a relationship. And then she represented herself at trial, and his modification was dismissed with prejudice. I mean, I've never seen that before. How come I keep getting stories like this? Because we fight differently than your dumbass is fighting. You have no, you like just are addicted to feeling sorry for yourself like a bitch that you don't want somebody to tell you do something different. Like, I already tried and I exerted energy and I want to quit because I'm a bitch. And the reason that I could say that is because I was in and out of court for 20 years. I have 1,120 something documents in my file. You probably got 200 if you have an intense original divorce case. I've been through 5 to 10 times the hell you've been through. And after I got custody, they were still calling me a monster and still harassing me in court. I did go to jail for 8 days because I didn't show up at a hearing, but I was never served the paperwork. I got set up. It was a contempt because I didn't give the mother school and medical records, supposedly. I gave her attorney the phone number for the school and the doctor, and that wasn't good enough for them. I'm not going to go and dig up 15 years of medical records and then scan them and send them to her. She can go do that. She can call them up. I had to call up the doctors when she didn't give me their information. And then when I was in jail, before I went to jail, my attorney that I had, because I was in jail, I had to get an attorney while I was in jail. My attorney found out that she was in contact with this school. She found an email before I went to jail. So they pushed to keep me in jail when it was totally unnecessary. And my daughter was traumatized, and nobody asked how the child was doing or if she was alive or if anybody was taking care of her. The mom didn't even pick her up. So I've been through hell also. That wasn't, and that's not just it. I just don't go into story after story after story. And because you're going through hell right now and I won, you think that I'm insensitive. No, I'm not, you dumbass idiot. I'm on your side, you freaking retarded F-tard. I'm the only one who's on your side, and you don't want to listen to me because you don't like how insensitive I am. When your best answer, your number one weapon, is to grow some balls and continue to fight. All the different technicalities come with your willingness to fight. You lost a court hearing, okay, do a reconsideration. You lost in front of a commissioner or magistrate, appeal to a regular judge. You lose that hearing, do a reconsideration. Have you done discovery? Have you done a deposition? Have you done any interrogatories? Have you called the mother out? Are you attempting to go for full custody? Or are you a dumbass airheaded bitch with a third grade level low IQ and you think, I'm going to go for 50-50, I don't want to look like a jerk. And she's going for full custody and saying you're a monster. So she's claiming you're a monster. And you're claiming, well, I want 50-50. What does that mean she gets? See, you guys don't think. You don't think at all, which this is freaking insane. You're saying she should have 50% custody because she's a wonderful mother. She's been withholding the children from me. She was suicidal. She was threatening to blow up the house and kill all of us. But she's a wonderful mother because she feeds the kids and clothes them. You freaking numbnut, sellout, subhuman piece of shit. You're kissing her ass and worshiping feminism like all the other attorneys and legislators, and you've become one of them instead of standing up for your kids and saying, screw the mother, screw the attorneys, screw the court, screw society, screw all my friends. I'm going to rescue my kids and do everything I can because I care about them. I don't care what anybody thinks about me. If I lose every single friend, I had that mentality, and guess what? I walked away with my daughter. Now, I lost friends along the way, because some of them believe the mother side. And then I had some other friends that say, I don't want to get involved. They could have helped me. It would have helped my case. But when I got on the offensive, I beat the mother up and I got my kid. And it was a lonely life being a single parent. But now everybody knows that she's a monster and I was the good guy. But I don't give a shit about that. I cared about having a life with my kid. Are you freaking retarded? You're worried about what everybody thinks? How come you don't care about your kids? If the kids are staying the night at a house where, dad is drunk and all the kids are watching child porn or something like that, are you going to take your kid away from the slumber party? Or are you worried that it's going to hurt anybody's feelings? So why do you care about everybody's feelings right now? Why are you listening to your cousin, your mother, I've had several people talk to me in the past couple of weeks. Well, everybody tells me I can't don't have a chance. Who's everybody? That is one thing that annoys me when somebody says they, he, them, she, everybody, and these people, or they say, who the F is they, you retarded idiot? Open your mouth and tell me who they are. Oh, they, my brother's cousin's sister's mom's nephew. Okay, did that person get full custody? Did that person get 50-50? No, they got creamed in court. Why the F are you listening to advice from a loser? And you're mad at me. I won in court and I'm telling people how to win. And then when people give excuses not to win, I say, stop being a bitch and an excuse making. Feel sorry for me. I want attention from everybody and I need a hug and I need to dry hump somebody to feel better about myself. That is the answer you need. Number one, if you're going to be a soldier in this war, you need to go to boot camp and wake up and get ready to fight. Once you change your mind, then we got no problem. We just start get going and moving forward. There's people who call me up and say, James, I've been a pussy. I'm tired of it. I want to fight. When can we talk? When do I pay you? How do I get going? Are you available this afternoon? Or I'm available right now. I'm busy right now, but I could talk. I could talk tomorrow at 1. Boom. We have an appointment. Okay, where do we go? And then they listen. The people who want to learn and want to fight, they shut the hell up and they listen. And we go through and they say, what do you mean by that? I don't understand. And then I break it down. The people who want to whine, cry, piss and moan, want to dominate the conversation and tell me their whole life story. And then at an hour and 15 minutes into the call, I say, okay, well, I got about an hour or two advice. Do you want to pay for that? Because we only got 15 minutes left. You dominated the conversation. You didn't want to listen to anything I said. You told me, literally, when I let people talk, they usually tell me 10 times the information I need. If I need to know what your court order is right now and you tell me when the mother filed and how you responded and what she said and what happened outside of court and the fights and this and that, and then you take 15 minutes to tell me what the court orders say, you just wasted 14 minutes. This is the average beta that I deal with. The guys who want to fight come ready to learn. Somebody like Kobe Bryant, who some people consider the best basketball player ever. He's in everybody's top 10 ever. He didn't have the athletic ability of Michael Jordan, but they say he's the next closest thing to Michael Jordan. He couldn't jump as high. He wasn't as fast. He didn't have the size hands Michael Jordan did. So he didn't have the physical attributes, but he got everything out of his body and his skills that he could. He would go and talk to other professional basketball players and listen to them and shut the F up and learn from them. If you really want to fight, you will come learning. If you want to whine, cry, piss, and moan, you have a great avenue in the Fathers' Rights Movement. Just Google the Fathers' Rights Movement, Mississippi, North Carolina, wherever you are. There's at least a group, a state over. And if you want to be a beta little bitch, you can go and cuddle and cry sweet nothings in another guy's ear at a Fathers' Rights Movement meeting and be a little bitch and whine and cry about how the system sucks. And for the next 10 years, go to their meetings and accomplish nothing. Or if you want to learn how to fight and give yourself the best chance to get something fair, talk to me and get an appointment with me. If you don't, it's your loss. Nobody can say anything the only thing I get mad about or get annoyed about is the audacity and the lack of self-awareness people have in the comments saying, oh, I'm bitter, or I'm mad, or I lost my mind, or I'm a drunk, or I'm an alcoholic. I've had everybody call me all that kind of stuff. I've never been drunk in my life. I never don't do any drugs, so they're lying. And then people are saying I'm bitter about the system. I won in court. I'm bitter about how the system treats other guys. I'm here fighting for other people. And you guys are lucky I'm doing that because just think, you out there are whining, crying, pissing, and moaning like a little bitch. James, you said that I'm a jerk because I didn't want to pay for your services, or I'm a coward because I'm not fighting. I am fighting for my kids. Well, you're fighting wrong. You're fighting the pussy way, where you don't say anything bad about the mother or you don't go for full custody. You're not fighting, bitch. If you go into a fight with Mike Tyson and you duck and dodge and bob and weave, and you come in the corner like, I'm trying hard. No, you're not. Swing at him. Or if he hits you and you go, ow, that hurt really bad, and you're surprised that he hit you, you're in a fight. Your corner will tell you, stop being a pussy ass bitch and start hitting him and doing what we train to do and what works to give you a chance to fight him. If you stand in there and duck and dodge Mike Tyson, he's going to hit you one time and knock you out. If you get on the offensive and you start hitting him and hitting back, it'll be harder for him to knock you out because he has to defend and duck and dodge you. But if you sit there like a sitting duck and you're playing Mr. Nice Guy and say, I don't want to hurt you, Mike Tyson, I'm just going to bob and weave, he'll catch you one of these times. If you go into court and say, well, I don't want to attack the mother, I'll just bob and weave all of her allegations, and she's bringing 100 lies in court, and you say, Your Honor, I want to work stuff out with her, I want to be a nice guy, and so you're making her look like a nice gal, then they believe that she has credibility and she's saying you're a monster. Who do you think they're going to believe, you retarded, numbnuts, airheaded, pacifist little bitch? The reason why I use all that names, because anybody with two balls that have dropped will say, I'm going to fight for my kids and I don't care what other people think. Only pussy ass bitches and feminine simp betas will say, I need to make the judge happy. I need to make the lawyers happy. I need to make my baby's mom happy. I need to make the guardian ad litem happy. I need to have a good, every single guy that's accused of being abusive that goes in and tries to play Mr. Nice Guy, you know what they say? He's putting on a show. He's lying. That doesn't help you win, you stupid numbnuts retard. You've been at it for 6 months or a year and it hasn't worked. And I'm here with winning court orders and you're mad at me. You're a freaking retarded dumbass arguing with me, the person who can help you win. That's the thing that's annoying. That's the thing that's shocking, to your own detriment. You don't want help from a winner because you want to go and talk to an attorney who's nice and a slick oil used car salesman because he's nice and he has a suit and tie and he's going to take $100,000 from you. But at least he was nice. Everybody thought Hitler was nice because they thought he advocated for the German people and he was going to fight the Germans' enemies and he loved his people and he loved, he had a struggle to overcome Germans' economic problems and the Jews were doing it. And then he stirred up rage against the Jews and they were so delusional, like, this guy loves us. He's speaking our language. That's what your attorney does. Hey, I'll get you 50-50. Then after you lose, then you go to mediation and then they say, well, you're going to get screwed. You might as well settle on that deal. And you say, well, why don't we just go to trial and fight? Oh, you're going to lose at trial, or I need $20,000. Then your bitch ass quits. See, all you freaking retarded idiots who hate on me, you learn after you get screwed, and then you look back, and then you say, I wish I would have done what you said, or I wish I would have talked to you before. I wish I would have known you before. I wish you weren't a freaking faggoty ass bitch and were sitting around waiting for somebody to rescue you and you took the initiative and you went to go rescue your kids and you had the balls to fight for your kids. Whether you represent yourself or not, you're better off representing yourself and doing it the right way. But if you got an attorney, why don't you light a fire under the attorney's butt? You are the attorney's boss. Why don't you do something about it? Let's see if I have any comments other than these teenage bop little trolls, single mom raised little bitches up here that like to just say stupid stuff. So Justin said it's all fake. You can, yeah. Obviously the whole family court system is a phone. It's like a Twilight Zone. You walk in there and you're in the Twilight Zone. It's a different world. I've literally seen attorneys go into court and say, "Well, Your Honor, this and that," and they genuflect to the judge and they bow down and worship the judge and say, "Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, thank you." Like just turning their head and just bowing. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. And then they walk out and they go, I can't believe the system is so corrupt. Why didn't you say that in court when it counted? Because the attorneys are a bunch of bitch ass little simps. It's insane. Pisses me off. They let us hear. We have to get strong again and stand up for what's right, not what's good for government and entitles the women. Yeah. We're soft. Look at PE class in the 50s, yeah, when they used to have to do push-ups and climb ropes to the ceiling and all that other stuff and jump over obstacles. Um, Uh, is it too late to file for an ex parte? Okay, so here's a question. Is it too late to file for an ex parte even though I already submitted my paperwork and have a hearing scheduled? Well, if you're going into ex parte, like let's say it's Friday now. So let's say you go in and you're supposed to give notice of going to ex parte. That's usually Civil Rule 65 in any state. Most states adopt the federal rules of civil procedure for federal court. They're all pretty, really good rules for the most part, especially Civil Rule 11, which I have a video on my YouTube channel. But when you go into ex parte, you're supposed to give notice. If you have an emergency, there's going to be irreparable harm. You don't have to give notice according to the rules. So learn the rules on injunctions. It's usually Civil Rule 65, or you can type in Civil Rule injunction your state. Well, let's say you tell the other side on Monday, I'm going in Tuesday morning to ex parte to get an emergency order, but you have a hearing on Thursday. The ex parte court's going to say, you got a hearing on Thursday, you're too close to it. So it all depends on when you have your hearing scheduled. And then how urgent it is. If you go in there and say, well, I need an emergency order to, uh, get the house sold. If you're in a divorce and or be able to take a home equity loan out of the equity in the house or something, those aren't emergencies the courts will care about. So it all depends on what type of emergency. But if you don't have a hearing for like a month, I would be going to ex parte. If I'm not seeing my kid, and I talked to a guy, who was that? I talked to a guy and his attorney scheduled a motion for him to get 50-50. And he actually did a deposition on he actually did a deposition on the mother and caught her in a bunch of lies. He said the guy half-assed did a deposition. He gave him like 50% effort if you gave him a grade. So caught her in some lies. I would be going to ex parte if I don't have a hearing for a month. I think this guy that I was talking about, he wasn't seeing his kids. If I'm not seeing my kids and I don't have a hearing to get to see my kids for a month or something, first of all, if there's no restraining order, I'm going to pick up my kids at school or going to get them and I'm going to keep them. Pretty crazy idea, huh? Do whatever the mother's doing? Yeah, that's so crazy of me to think that I can do what the mother's doing. But cowardly bitch guys who can't think outside the box don't even think like I can go get the kid. That's my kid that I took 2 months ago when we were getting along. I used to take the kid every other day or all weekend long. Are you telling me I could pick up the kid from school like I used to and take the kid? The mother says I can't. Who the F is the mother, bitch? So, yeah, so it depends. I mean, that question isn't specific enough. It's a good question. If you already have a motion filed, just here's a way to think of it. What is the purpose of this thing, or what do the rules say, or what does the law say? Ex parte is an emergency. If you're not seeing your kids and you can't see your kids for a month, your kids are suffering. That's an emergency. It depends on how you argue it. So argue it accordingly. Think about the purpose of ex parte to get an emergency order to fix an immediate problem. When children aren't seeing their dad, they're traumatized. They're already traumatized from the divorce, the separation, the breaking up, the parental conflict. You smooth it out and bring them peace when you restore the relationship. How long are you going to make them traumatized and suffer? Let's do an ex parte. But a lot of ex parte courts will say it's not an emergency. It's only if the kids are bleeding or have bruises. It doesn't say that in the rules. Only dumbasses at the courthouse say that. And because everybody says that, everybody follows that. And your attorney won't do an ex parte because everybody says that. So, that being said, you have to persuade them. It's called persuasive argument. You have to persuade them. Look, it is an emergency. It doesn't say the kids have to be bleeding for me to get ex parte. Where did that come from, Your Honor? That came from your stupid ass clerk over here, or some attorney once said it, or a judge said it. It says if there's an emergency. I'm telling you, all the science and data says kids flourish when there's a loving home with two parents. We don't have that. We have a broken home. They're traumatized. Then the mother's withholding the child, or then the mother's playing games, or the other way around. The narcissistic father is pushing the kids out of my life. We need to fix that right now. When they had the crisis at the border, the southern border, and like somewhere in Trump's presidency, they were making a big deal about kids getting separated at the border, even though that's been happening since at least Clinton days and maybe Bush 1. Obama even told everybody in Mexico, do not bring your kids to the border. They will get separated from you, and we're going to prosecute you. There was outrage in the media for months. I thought like 1 million kids got separated. Then I looked up in the news. There was 1,000 kids separated, and they found 600 of those kids' parents. And it was the parents' fault. They brought the kids to the border. You would have thought it was millions of kids. But guess what the family courts do every year? They separate 1 million kids from parents, and nobody gives a shit. It's an urgent, outrageous travesty of humanity if kids get separated at the border by illegal aliens crossing the border and bringing their kids and using them as a tool or weapon. But American kids who are used to their family and their family's separated and they're traumatized, it's no big deal. That's bullshit. So go in there and make an argument. So that's kind of the answer to that question. If you don't know how to make the argument, then get a consult with me. In some courts, you're not even allowed to file exhibits. That's what Mal said. You're supposed to be. If some courts are stopping you guys from presenting your case, there's all kinds of case law, or court rules, or constitutional rights. You have a fundamental fairness doctrine to answer your accusers, or especially if the other side is the petitioner and started the case. You have a right to respond or prepare an argument. This is where case law comes in. You have a right to make an argument, to prepare an argument. Included in that right, see, this is where you got to dig deeper. You can't just look at, and I'm not just talking to Mal, I'm talking to everybody. You can't just read a rule and think that's the end all be all. Like ex parte, it says emergency orders. And then some judge somewhere says, oh, that's only for abused kids. It doesn't say that in the rules. We have to look deeper. The fundamental fairness doctrine includes the right to have enough time to prepare for a hearing. So that means they should accept my exhibits. And there's probably, the reason they have the rules of evidence is so they decide what exhibits are allowed and what aren't. So the fact they have rules of evidence means they should be allowing exhibits. The rules of evidence allow you guys to debate in court which exhibits are allowed and which are not allowed. So inherent in the rules are that exhibits are allowed. So that kind of, if a court isn't allowing exhibits, they're not allowing evidence. And there's case law in a lot of states that say the court has a duty to make a full inquiry into the welfare and the best interest of the child or children. If they're going to make a full inquiry into the welfare of the children, they want to look at all the evidence. So they must allow exhibits. And it's the other side's burden to prove that your exhibit is inadmissible or unreliable or whatever. If you have a murder case, the judge doesn't say, I'm not going to allow any fingerprints or a bloody glove or surveillance video or witness testimony. That would be stupid. They would want to hear all the evidence to make a conclusion. Now, the other side gets to object to evidence if they think it's unfair or not reliable, but that's what the court forum is for, to argue that stuff out. So you shouldn't quit on the court's stupid analysis of the rules or your rights. You should push for your rights. That's part of your argument too. It's to tell the judge what your rights are. Why do you think they have a legal brief or a trial brief or a legal memorandum? You're reminding the court and giving them a memo of what the law says and what they have to do. So the judge isn't the law himself. He's like a referee in a game. They might forget the rules, or if you know the rules and the judge is missing the call, or the referee is missing the call, you're like, hey, look, he's holding. Look out for the holding. Hey, look, LeBron James just took 4 steps. What? Call the traveling. Hey, he's grabbing my hip when I'm down on the block and posting up in basketball. Or tell the umpire, that pitcher has Vaseline. Look, I saw some spit or something shiny on the ball. You make the referee look for the call and make the right call because you know the rules. The judge is the referee in your case. The judge is not the rule maker. They interpret and apply the rules. You can make an argument why they should follow this rule or that rule. That's what managers and coaches do when they're complaining to a referee. I didn't do an ex parte. I just filed for modification. I submitted all my evidence as exhibits. My hearing is in October. Oh, so this is Danny clarifying the question. Can the judge still make changes based on the evidence I have already? This happens all the time. People file a modification and they go to ex parte and the mother says, "Oh, he's abusing the kids." Boom. His 50-50 visitation is now supervised because they believed her. Um, so ex parte if she jumped on you. Okay, so somebody's reading Danny's stuff. These little boys need someone to teach them to be men. That's true, but everybody, every man has it in him. It's just like the Lion King. Simba had it in him to be king of the jungle. He just decided to run when he was a little cub. And then he kept telling himself over and over, I can't go back. I can't go back. They'll shame me. I ran away. All these excuses. See, once you sit there and sulk, this is why you can't be sitting there and sulking. This is why I did a video where the best therapy is getting on the offensive. While you sit and sulk, you talk yourself into creating an image. As a man thinketh, so is he. Everybody who's successful told themselves, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. People told them, no, you can't do it. They would have failures. An actor who made it in Hollywood, they had a tryout for a part. They failed. They had 400 different tryouts that failed. There's countless stories like that of success in this world. The people who are the most successful usually are the ones who persevere. Now, some people get lucky breaks, but the more chances you try, the luckier you get. The more shots you take, the more you make. Jay Fly Sky said, look at your forehead. And so I got an ugly forehead. So what? Why is your gay ass obsessed with my forehead, bitch? Okay, so I just filed for motion of custody. I have proof of child neglect and DV toward me. That's all the more you should see. You're questioning whether you should go to ex parte. If there's abuse going on and domestic violence going on, every state says we have an urgent policy to protect children from a home with domestic violence perpetrators and child abuse and neglect. You don't wait until October to get that resolved. You go to ex parte because it's an emergency. Go to ex parte. Um, so you must be California because you're talking about Family Law Form 300, which is a request for order. I think they have special forms for ex parte. You'd have to do another form. I think you add an ex parte request to that. I can't remember. Like it's FL 305, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, but it's there. But if you're this lost and you don't know that you need an ex parte if the child's in danger, why are you waiting until October to do something about it? You should have been an ex parte by now. So you probably need some help and need to get a consultation. Oh, she said I gave help. I did help a lot. You went from every other weekend of the month from Friday until Sunday. I've been fighting. I went from every other weekend to, oh, first, third, fourth, and fifth. So you got 4 weekends instead of every other weekend. But yeah, if there's abuse, you need to go to ex parte. So Shay, I guess you were talking to Danny on here. If you don't, the judge isn't going to take you serious. That's a great point. And she would do that. Great point, Shay. See, this stuff, a lot of this stuff is common sense. And, you guys know this stuff. You just got to do it. So I think Shay said something else, or you were just talking to. Okay, so Mal said that the courts won't allow you to file exhibits, only allowed to present at trial. I file exhibits anyway. If I file a notice or a motion, I attach exhibits. If they don't want to look at it, they got to tell me why they don't want to look at it. I get it on the record and jam it down their throat, and then they decide whether they're going to do something. Oh, looks like Shay, you might have got a consult with me. You said I did, and it helped. It must be talking about when I was talking about getting consults. Justin said most people feel unfit though or are scared. Oh well, everybody who ever did anything. Think about when you jumped off a diving board for the first time. You were scared, right? And then when you did it, it wasn't as bad as you were paranoid about it, right? Same thing with riding a bike. You're scared you might fall, and you might fall. That's life. And we're not talking about riding a bike or jumping off a diving board. We're talking about your life with your kid. So you should be more willing than ever. And I'm not telling Justin that you were scared. You made this great point. This is the problem with men. You're scared. So freaking what? Did you ever play football? When you're on the football field, it's a scary thought sometimes somebody might blindside you. If you're on a kickoff or a kickoff return team, that's really scary because people are flying full speed. What's your best way to avoid getting injured or creamed? To go full speed and hit impact with impact. If you stand here, I'm scared, this guy comes cruising through, you will get knocked the F out. I played football. Sometimes I was scared and intimidated before the game. The other guys looked bigger, and we got on the field, and then when we started getting going, I'm like, these guys aren't as bad as they seem to be, or even if they were as bad as they seem to be, I still lived afterward. So did everybody else. It took years of me getting tossed around, getting in loops to figure it out. Some people, when you're on your own, that is the deal. That's why it's good to have somebody who's been through it. And like I said, I've been in and out of court for 20 years, been in the Court of Appeals, District Court. I've won in the Supreme Court. I had to help the guy get a partial win in the Supreme Court. I had a mini win in the Supreme Court of my state once and two wins in the Court of Appeals. I could have had probably two other wins. There's one, the time I got thrown in jail, I could have fixed that. And I started to. And I'm like, you know what? My daughter's 15. I got to deal with teenage issues. It's not worth my time, effort, and energy because the only thing I'll be able to say is, Nana, 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 I won. What good will that be? My daughter needs me right now. I don't need to be on the computer 5 hours a day dealing with an appeal while my daughter needs me. You're just hard to hear, buddy, but you're right. I mean, there's all kinds of self-help people out here who are telling people the truth. And sometimes people firmly tell hard truths nicely. I'm done with that. When I was doing that, guys were pussy ass bitches and they didn't change. So I'm just going to call it what it is. People don't like my real. Everybody loves talking about keep it real, and then somebody keeps it real, and everybody's offended at it. Everybody's a lying freaking hypocrite. Just gotta. Okay, I think that's it. That's cool for the night. I just wanted to ask people what's your excuse for not getting help? That's really what I want to do. Talk about one-on-one help. The best thing you can do for your case is get some one-on-one help. It's hard to get all this stuff down. You can, if you want to spend every waking hour for the next several months watching my videos and figure it out on your own, but it's a lot faster if you get one-on-one help. Just think, if you're trying to read a book on chemistry and you got somebody who is a down-to-earth teacher who's got a PhD in chemistry, but they can share stuff with you, um, in a practical way, and they want to tutor you. Would you be better off just trying to read the book yourself, starting from scratch, or having a tutor? Obviously, they'll help you get shortcuts and bypass all the bull crap and be able to get right down to the nitty gritty. So, um, what do you mean, where is here? I'm at California Inland Empire. I mean, when you said FL 300, I knew you were in California, but I believe they accept exhibits in your declaration on your FL 300 RFO. Yeah, attach exhibits to your declarations. But you need to, I mean, generally, the court forms don't have enough room, especially if they're PDF forms, to fill out your whole argument. I know on some of the California forms, there's like a section, what's your reason for doing this? And it's like that big, like an inch or two on the paper. And I want to write 10 pages of stuff. Now they say you can attach something and then use a PDF that has a declaration attachment and then attach that. I like to just use court pleadings. A Word template with the number lines down the left side. You have 2 lines going down, and it's numbered, and then you have a line on the other side, and you double space everything. A traditional declaration. I've seen attorneys write papers, declaration templates in that format in California and everywhere across the country. You can do your own customized forms, a declaration in support of your motion, and have your exhibits attached. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can call it in the top of your page. You can call it in the caption, James versus Sedaris Wright in regarding the parentage of this child born on this day, 015007956. Superior Court of California for the County of King or for the County of LA, San Diego, or whatever. That's the caption. So you get a template, you have the caption, and say, declaration of father in support of motion for emergency order and temporary orders. And then you just lay out your argument, every little thing. Mother abused the kids. Look at this CPS report, Exhibit 1. The mother, I had to call the cops on the mother because she stabbed me. Look at this police report. Here's some pictures, Exhibit 3. And then you attach all that stuff. And you have a nice little book with everything that covers everything. And you can try and use the court forms for everything. I think it's a pain in the butt. I think it's easier to do your own customized form. I have a declaration template packet in my store for $15 that has a Word declaration template and kind of gives a guideline on how to, if you have other people who write a testimony, kind of gives them a head start and gives an example of a declaration and how to quote text messages and indent that. So I give a little bit of a structure of how declaration templates work a lot of times. And then there's a cover sheet. If somebody wrote a declaration, or a doctor or a teacher wrote a letter on school letterhead, you still have to have a cover sheet with that caption for it to be filed with the court. The court won't accept anything unless it has the cover sheet with the caption, you versus her, the case number and stuff. They won't just file an email or a letter. So in my declaration template packet, there's a cover sheet for a declaration, because that person has to, if they write a letter or you have a witness or a friend write an email that's not good enough, it has to be under oath. So they'll say under oath that the attached letter or email is incorporated here in my sworn declaration. And you just have a 1-page cover sheet. And then I have a declaration template for people who don't want to type. And one time when I got this restrainer against this crazy chick, I told you guys in this call how I played Captain Save-A-Ho with this hoe-ass crazy bitch who abused her kids. I didn't even know about it until the last day we hung out. Then I was done with her. I seen her slap her kid around, and I was done. Then I reached out and found the father, and he didn't want to fight for his kid. He didn't care that that chick went back to her abusive boyfriend who beat the snot out of her in front of his kid. He didn't care that she might have been being molested. It's one of the best cases I've ever seen. I could have been a witness for that guy. I had her court orders from her divorce case showing that she was an abuser. And she basically was a prostitute because she's screwing other different guys who are giving her money. I thought we were boyfriend and girlfriend. It wasn't super deep. We weren't going to get married, but I thought we were exclusive. She was dating several other dudes who were giving her money. There's two dudes who thought they were exclusive, and they were wondering where she was, and she's hanging out with me. Anyway, it was crazy how much this chick juggled. It was insane. And we gave each other our space because we're both single parents, before we started dating. So I gave her her space, and me giving her space was giving her time to screw a bunch of other dudes and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And she's still got a whole bunch of friends on Facebook again and everybody knows she's a hoe. Everybody knows she's a child abuser and crazy, and they feel sorry for her because she's kind of pretty. When she takes the makeup off, she's not that cute. She's got a whole bunch of cottage cheese in her hips and stuff, but she is pretty. But everybody feels sorry for a pretty woman, and they play that role. And then her own dad doesn't care that the child's being abused. His granddaughter's being abused. He's a bitch-ass sellout too. But in any case, and that's why the rest of her family has cut her off, because they can't deal with her or her aiding and abetting dad. But I digress, but um, I'd rather write my own customized declaration. That's the short of it. I use the court forms to set up a hearing, and then I write my own customized legal memorandum and my own customized declaration. I have packets of those in my store. For those of you who are watching, like, I can't do paperwork, it's too hard. I have a packet with a declaration supporting a motion for full custody, a temporary order, ex parte order. It talks about the science and the data and how I put the law in there. And I also have a sample of a legal memorandum when I have the law. And I have Washington law in there. But if you're in a different state, if you're in Texas, you use Family Code 153, starts off with frequent and continuing contact. California's Family Code 3020B, 310, 311, 3011. You take out the Washington stuff and just put the California stuff. It's a template that's ready to go. Now, my packets in my store, most of them are only $45. And I do that because some of them you have to change stuff out and do them customized to your own case. But how valuable is it? I mean, they're just by the fact I'm giving you a structure to follow, even though you got to wipe out the Washington stuff or type in your own story, and I'm giving you a structure. Just think if you got a blank document that shows you nothing and you're just totally lost. The head start I give you in that is invaluable. And some of my forms, half of the stuff you can keep in there. Because I'm talking about Troxel versus Granville, which is a Supreme Court case, or I'm talking about the science and the data of children needing fathers at least 50% of the time. And I have the exhibits and the slip sheets for exhibits there. So if people are complaining about my cost, the packets that I'm talking about, there's some people who do paperwork and they want $1,500 to do paperwork. And I give you a packet that gives you a structure to do it on your own after paying $45. So still got some more stuff going on here. Let's see. So I've attached police reports, pictures, etc. as my exhibits. ABC did my declaration on my RFO. Okay. I have my hearing in October. Again, I wouldn't wait. If you got abuse and domestic violence, look at you're in California. Family Code 3020A says it's a priority to protect kids and their safety. You should use the phrase, it's a strong public policy to protect children from domestic violence perpetrators and child abuse, emotional, psychological, and physical abuse. It's a strong public policy. We need to yank the kids out. And especially when it's during the summer, if they're not back in school yet, like, look, place the kids with me, suspend her visitation just to be safe, just in case. Look at all these police reports and all this other evidence. If we don't have a full hearing yet, at least, you have to give her notice. If you don't give her, you need to read California's rules on injunctions are a different number. It's like California Code of Civil Procedure. I think the number has like a 225 in it. I was just reading it for somebody else, but Google California Code of Civil Procedure injunctions. That's the rules on giving notice. If you can figure out an irreparable harm, you don't have to give her notice. You can go sneak in there and get an order giving you the kids more or restraining her from the kids or whatever. Putting her on supervised visitation. Or you give her notice and you go in and you argue together. Is it too late to do an ex parte if I already had a hearing set for October? No, that's what I'm talking. Is that a new one or is that your old text message? I've attached this stuff. That was the soonest date. Danny, if you're still on here, that's what I've been saying. You have a hearing in October. I think you already asked me that. Maybe I'm looking at the same question. Yeah, I think I'm looking at the same question. So yeah. So anyway. Okay, that looks like everybody's done asking questions and needing help and information. Just the short of it is, if you're in family court and you don't know everything that you need to know about everything, or you don't know how to find the answer by looking up case law and court rules, you need a consult with me. Simple as that. There's no beating around the bush with this. Your life with your kids is on the line. You need to know everything that you need to know. And I guarantee every single one watching me, you don't know everything. If you know the skill of how to look up case law and court rules and the statutes that apply and how to do paperwork, then you don't have to have everything memorized or know every single law. But if you know how to go find, that's all attorneys do. Attorneys don't know everything about every law and every piece of case law. They go and look it up and see what the latest statute, or the latest Supreme Court ruling, or the latest Court of Appeals ruling is, and then they go make an argument accordingly. So even attorneys don't know everything. But if you don't know everything about how to find, or the skill of how to find everything, or when I say, do you know everything, I mean, there's some things you need to know. You need to have the rules of evidence down. If you don't know the rules of evidence, look them up and study them. If they're confusing, get my rules of evidence video in my store. If you don't know how to defend against restraining orders or false allegations, get my packet defending against protection orders in my store. There's all kinds of stuff in there that nobody even ever attempts to use. And I got all kinds of stories of guys fighting off protection orders when they got that packet. I mean, is $45 really that hard for you to learn, get some knowledge and a sample of how to fight off a protection order and protect your life with your kid? Like, you got to be kidding me if you're complaining about $45. If you know everything, great, then you don't need me here. But if you're lost and you have a restraining order attempt against you, or the mother's accusing you of being an abuser, child abuser, domestic violence perpetrator, whatever, there's all kinds of arguments in there. You may not even use all the arguments, but there's some arguments in there for everybody. And then if you go to my flow page, the first thing you'll see is my picture of me and my daughter, my contact information. You'll see a shopping cart with a link to my store. But below that, I have a video that I link you to that says, here's the 3 most important things in my store. That rule of evidence video, everybody should know that. Everybody should have that. If you don't know the evidence rules by heart, you should get that video. The motion and declaration to support getting a parenting plan. There's kind of a real long title because that declaration can be used for temporary order, ex parte order, declaration in support of a motion, and then the defense against restraining order packet. There's all kinds of other useful stuff in there. My Civil Rule 11 thing, if you lose a hearing, you want to do reconsideration, there's a reconsideration motion sample. If you're going to trial, there's a trial packet in there. You're always, from the beginning, I'm going to do another video on this, I've been meaning to. As soon as your case starts, you're getting ready for trial down the road in a year. You're assembling your case and putting it together for trial. I just filed this on Thursday. Okay. My court date to address the best these matters is in October. Yeah, I got that part. I saw it. That's a regular hearing for modification. Okay, I saw that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, dude. I got it. Now I need to go and see if I can make it for an ex parte. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen if I don't get an ex parte? You don't get an ex parte. And I just leave it the way it is right now and wait for October. What do you think after what I just said? I already answered that question, and so did somebody in the comments. If you say the children are being abused, and then I'm going to wait, it's August, September, October. I'm going to wait 2 months to rescue the kids from abuse. If your neighbor's a pedophile and your kid is staying the night at that house and you keep sending your kid over there for slumber parties, you would be a psychotic, dumbass, abusive parent. Right? So if your kids are actually being abused and you're not lying, and you're saying, I want to wait until October to rescue them from their abuse and the toxic home with the domestic violence perpetrating mother, that doesn't make any sense. So the worst case, as far as I'm concerned, the whole case will be dismissed as a waste because you're not acting like your kids are getting abused. You're waiting to rescue them from abuse. Either you don't care or you don't really believe your own allegations. And if you really believe your allegations, why are you not going into ex parte and trying to rescue them? You have to at least make the appearance that you look like you care. If you don't, whether you do or not, that's the name of the game. So that should answer everything there. So, I fought off bogus restraining orders. I fought off bogus allegations of abuse and being abusive. And I have countless guys who've won over and over. So, so I know a little bit after 20 years of doing this, what I'm talking about. And this is a game of perception. So, and if you are concerned about a danger to your kids, you act on that concern. If you don't act swiftly, no matter whether it's a child abuser around or there's a bully at the school and your kid's coming home getting beat up, and you're like, man, my kid's getting bullied in school, and then you don't do anything about it or don't try and stop it, then you look like you don't care or you don't believe that it's going on or you're in denial. But when you're going to court and saying there's abuse going on and you file paperwork and you wait, everybody goes to ex parte when there's abuse. Women always do that. So you should too. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to wrap it up. I've been on here for a couple hours. So I really wanted to ask people, why aren't you getting help to fight in your case? There's really no excuse. If you don't like me, that's fine. We don't have to be best friends. You don't have to tell me you don't like me. You can keep it a secret and get information from me that'll help you win your kids. I'm here to help people win their kids back because the system's corrupt. And I deal with hate all the time. What's funny is people will get mad at me because of how harshly I talk. And it hurts your feelings because I'm telling you the truth of what you're actually doing or neglecting or being a pussy about. I read comments every single day that I don't know what I'm doing and don't know what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean anything to me. Just the people who are saying that are stupid because I've won in court over and over and destroyed attorneys with 10, 17, and 50 years experience. That's asinine that people would say that. If I was like you guys who are offended at me talking in general, and I'm not even talking to you directly, and people get offended, people are talking to me directly and saying, I don't know what I'm doing. If I was as thin skinned and sissy as you guys are, I would have stopped doing this years ago. I have attorneys running around criticizing me. I've been the part of like the attorneys at the Bar Association. They have this intranet billboard where they can ask each other topics, or I don't know what you call it, maybe a blog within their system. And people have been bashing me on there. They talk bad about me there. I have people who talk bad about me directly and all. If and you guys get mad that I'm telling the truth about your situation and you need to rescue your kids. I'm getting falsely accused and people talk shit about me all the time. And you're sitting here bashing me, telling you the truth because that one instance of me bashing you or me driving home the point that this is what dads need to do, that hurts your feelings. If I had hurt feelings like that, I wouldn't even be here to help people win in court. That's the irony of this whole thing. When you're on the wrong side of an issue or you're a pussy ass bitch who can't deal with the truth, then you're part of the backwards world that we live in. You are part of the reason why the system is the way it is because you won't stand up to it and do anything about it. And you're the first one to whine, cry, piss, and moan about the system, but you won't go in there and stand up to it. If everybody went in there and started telling them about the data and the science and telling the judges that you're placing the child in a dangerous situation, you have the power to rescue the child and make society better by making them have both parents. And instead of making all these beta boys or these gang, either the boys turn into beta boys or they turn into gangbangers and knuckleheads and bullies in school, you will make society better if you do what's best for the kids. But you got to go in there and unbrainwash them. They have 60 years of feminism on their brain. And you pussy ass bitches out there, I don't want to say anything bad about the mother. You should say something bad about the mother if she's bad. I have a video where I was talking about guys love to call me up and say, hey, I want 50-50, but I don't want to take the kids away from the mom. Well, I think I'm the better custodial parent, but I'm not trying to take kids away from mom. Why are you so paranoid like a little bitch that is blasphemy to talk to me on the phone, off the record, about taking the kids from the mom? The courts are going to take the kids from one parent. One parent's going to be an every other weekend parent. Unless you guys settle out of court on 50-50. It's rare for them to give 50-50, except in presumptuous 50-50 states. But that's when they're not arguing. I'm talking about arguing cases. And you call me up and say, "Oh, I'm not trying. Please don't call upon God to strike me down by lightning. I'm not trying to take the kids from the mom. You stupid, freaking dumbass, retarded little bitch. The family is broken up. The kids are going to live with someone. If the mom, and most of the guys who say that, they end up telling me 5 different crazy things about the mom. She's got bipolar disorder. She's on drugs. She misses drugs with alcohol. She beats the kids. She's suicidal. She was molested when she was younger. I don't want to take the kids away from mom. You should take the kids away from mom, you pussy ass bitch. For crying out loud. And then people get mad that I'm talking like this. What would you say about a dad who is too much of a coward to rescue? If you're the best parent for the kids and you love your kids, you would want the kids to be with the best parent, and it happens to be you. But you're all apologizing, you're committing blasphemy, and the gods are going to strike you down. You are being brainwashed like a little bitch ass simp to think it's blasphemy to place the kids with a father. Just because society thinks that way doesn't mean your punk ass has to. Get your mind unbrainwashed from that. Anyway. Look, some faggot ass bitch came on here and said, it's criticizing me and saying I'm crazy. And then he says, God bless you at the end. See, dumbasses love coming on here and criticizing me, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about because people want to just get on here and troll. And then they might realize I do know what I'm talking about. See, that's my gender, feminine energy in my gender. Anyway, those of you who are fighting the right way, keep up the good fight. Those of you who are losing and getting creamed, you should seriously consider getting some help from me. If it's not working for you, try something different.